and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. The 9-year wait for a wheelchair-accessible home. A mother of 3 from Basingstoke, one of thousands desperate to live somewhere that meets her needs.
I feel broken. I feel that I'm not able to do what I should be able to do.
E-scooters catching fire and exploding as more owners buy cheap chargers off the internet. What you can do to protect yourself and your home.
Last descent, and then we've done it.
The summit in her sights. The eye surgeon who took on an uphill ski challenge in the Alps to fund sight loss research.
Bucklebury sings for the King. The Princess of Wales's former piano teacher composes a new anthem for the Coronation. Good evening. Many disabled people in the Meridian region are struggling to lead independent lives because of a chronic shortage of accessible housing.
Well, the government has announced plans to ensure that all new homes, including council properties, are more suitable for those with mobility issues. But ITV News can reveal that over 5,000 people remain on local authority waiting lists for some form of adapted home.
One woman from Basingstoke says she's been waiting 9 years. Jamie Green has our report.
Small movements are a big effort for Rosie Sparham. She struggles to walk and is in a lot of pain. Her husband or children have to help her up the stairs of a housing association property she says is unsuitable.
Got your weight?
I feel broken. I feel that I'm not able to do what I should be able to do. The pain is so bad sometimes I can't move. And that gets me very frustrated, then it gets me very down and low because I feel I have to rely on somebody or one of the children to help me. And I just sit down there and I cry.
Steps outside mean Rosie's wheelchair can't fit inside. A stair lift and a wet room would help, but Rosie claims she's been told they can't be installed because she's on a waiting list for bigger and better accommodation. What difference would it make to get an accessible home?
To have my freedom back a little bit would be a miracle. To be able to go into the kitchen freely, put the kettle on, make a drink, or just to go upstairs by myself would be amazing.
Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council say they can't comment on individual cases, but make sure that households needing adaptations are prioritised for any accessible housing. And Rosie's Housing Association say they know alternative options have been discussed with her and aren't aware of a request for major adaptations. ITV Meridian received Freedom of Information responses from 55 councils in the Meridian region about accessible housing in their area. They show that there are more than 5,000 people like Rosie across our region on council waiting lists for some kind of accessible home. 8 of the councils we approached had no data, so the real figure could well be higher. The estimated average waiting time from the 27 councils that held that information is over 19 months. Michael Grimmett is one of the lucky ones. He got a fully adapted flat in Romsey after spending 12 months on the local authority waiting list.
Turn on all lights. Everybody needs their own chance to mature and to leave the family home, and self people also need to have that right as well. And also then your family become your family and not your carers.
In a statement, the government said, "Everyone deserves a home that meets their needs, which is why we're in the process of making it mandatory for all new homes to be built with higher accessibility standards, including better step-free access, wider doorways and clearer access routes." One housing association that specialises in accessible homes is pleased the government are taking action, but wants more detail.
We're delighted with the decision, but we're still waiting. The decision was made in July to to agree that all new homes have to be built by default to accessible and adaptable standard. However, we're waiting for the timescale to implement this new legislation.
Those who want to see more accessible homes say that in the long run, it's better to build adaptable homes like this one, rather than retrofit old properties that were never built with mobility in mind. Rosie's story shows us that while there are lots of physical barriers, like steps up to the front door or having somewhere to charge your wheelchair, it's much more than that. It's about feeling safe and happy in your own home. For Rosie and many like her, change can't come soon enough. Jamie Green, ITV News.
Train passengers have seen the largest hike in fares for more than a decade. Ticket prices have gone up by 5.9%, which means hundreds of pounds have been added to the cost of an annual season ticket. The cost of a season ticket from Reading to London has gone up nearly £300 to £5,340.
Compulsory water meters are set to be fitted in homes across Oxford. Thames Water says work will start in April and people who are going to have one installed will be contacted ahead of the rollout in the autumn. The company says it needs to make the network more resilient in the face of a growing population and climate change.
Oxford is set to become the next research and manufacturing base for vaccines. The company Moderna, which was behind one of the COVID-19 jabs, will create it in Harwell. The move is set to generate hundreds of jobs and is aimed at providing the UK with access to vaccines for a wide range of respiratory diseases, and it's expected to open in 2025.
Now, the number of fires caused by electric scooters and electric bikes is increasing, so much so that Berkshire Fire and Rescue is warning anyone with an e-bike or scooter about the dangers.
Well, there's concern too many people are using illegal chargers bought on the internet, as James Webster explains.
An e-scooter catches fire while charging indoors. There soon follows a series of explosions. In less than a minute, the smoke fills the room. Crews from Royal Berkshire Fire Service say they've had to deal with 2 similar cases in just the last few months.
The first incident was an e-bike charger that caught fire. That was in a flat in Reading. And a fire that results from a lithium-ion battery can be ferocious, it can be highly explosive, and it can cause toxic fumes and lots of smoke.
So explain to us what sort of thing we've got here, what's happened?
Well, these are examples of how ferocious lithium-ion batteries can be. So here we've got an e-scooter where the batteries have caught fire, and here we've got an e-bike where a similar thing has happened.
They both look really pretty damaged.
Oh, absolutely. Lithium-ion batteries can be really ferocious. You know, when they go up, they really do go up.
And with more people using such items, campaigners are warning owners how to minimise the risks.
Don't charge them overnight, because if something happens, if something goes wrong, then your reactions are going to be delayed, so the results are going to be much worse. The other thing is, think about where you charge them. Don't charge them in escape routes, because, you know, that might compromise your way out of the building.
This video shows how quickly dense smoke from an e-scooter fire can fill a room. The Chartered Trading Standards Institute says the number of fires caused by lithium batteries has surged by almost 150% in the last year.
It's really concerning because obviously our remit is to ensure only safe products do get onto the market. I think there's probably a slight increased demand now, and so manufacturers, and I will say in the Far East, are struggling to probably meet that demand and probably are cutting corners. They're probably trying to give sort of cheap product on the market rather than safe product.
Identifying what is safe and what isn't can be just a case of looking.
You know, if you've got one of these chargers and it's got one of these plugs and you can see it's much smaller than a normal plug, stop using it immediately because you are at risk.
What's the problem with that plug?
Well, the problem with this plug is it doesn't meet the dimensional requirements of the standard and it's got no fuse. But the fact that it's got one of these plugs means this product hasn't been tested, which means there could be other hidden dangers with this product.
When batteries overheat, the fires caused can be intense and explosive, which is why campaigners say it is a risk not worth taking for the sake of a cheaper charger. James Webster, ITV News.
You're watching ITV News Meridian here in the Thames Valley. Still to come. The surge in rabbits being abandoned. Rescue centres tell us they're at bursting point.
And a tough run on and off the pitch. Reading await news of a potential points deduction.
And remember, you can find more news by going to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095 and you can follow us. That's on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram.
An animal rescue centre in Hampshire says it's overwhelmed with the number of rabbits coming into them. More people bought them over lockdown and it's feared without intervention, the rabbit crisis, as it's being called, will only get worse.
Charities are calling for a change in the law so rabbit breeders have the same licensing as dog breeders in the hope of preventing rabbit cruelty and poor welfare. With more, Hamrit Birdie.
There's around 1 million pet rabbits in the UK, making them the third most popular pet, according to the PDSA. And just like cats and dogs, the demand for rabbits surged over lockdown, with more people wanting a furry companion at home. But this spike in bunny popularity has also led to a record number of them being given away. This rescue centre in Portsmouth in Hampshire say they're overwhelmed with the amount of unwanted rabbits coming in.
The reason there's a rabbit crisis is that many rescues are closing down, which puts pressure on other rescues. The cost of living is rising, a cost of our supplies is increasing, and we run on very few donations. So it just, it has a massive impact on what we do.
According to the RSPCA, the number of bunnies finding new homes last year has plummeted, with rabbits spending 132 days on average at rescue centres. There are so many unwanted rabbits now in the UK that RSPCA centres like this one have had to take them on when they didn't previously, building dedicated hutches and space to keep them. Rehoming them is presenting other challenges though.
We certainly are struggling at the moment with the rehoming. We've seen a rise of about 48% of rabbits coming into RSPCA care, probably due to people's sort of circumstances changing, people going back to work after sort of the lockdown, and of course the cost of living crisis.
Campaigners for rabbit welfare are petitioning for new laws that will require rabbit breeders to be licensed in the same way as dog breeders.
Scotland already has this legislation and it already exists in England for dogs. So I don't think it's a big ask really. We're only asking for the legislation to be updated in England so that rabbits are treated the same as dogs. So if you are going to be breeding litters 3 a year, you need to be registered, you need to be inspected by your local authority. That would raise standards and ensure that proper welfare standards were met. And it would also put people off who were doing it for all the wrong reasons.
The petition is gathering traction, with the RSPCA's support and pre-loved website temporarily banning the sale of new rabbits. The government told us there is already comprehensive animal welfare legislation in place requiring anyone who is in the business of selling rabbits as pets to obtain a valid licence from their local authority. And licensees must meet strict welfare standards. With female rabbits able to produce a litter of up to 12 kits every month, campaigners say it's vitally important to neuter your pet rabbits and not to add to the growing number of bunnies needing a good home. Hamrit Birdie, ITV News.
It's 14 minutes past 6 and the ITV Evening News continues here with the national and international news at 6:30 with a preview. Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, the latest on the investigation into a fatal car crash in Cardiff. Tributes have been paid to those killed in the accident. They were among a group of 5 who went missing over the weekend. Also ahead, we'll be looking at the PM's planned scheme to stop small boats, and we'll hear from critics who claim it could backfire. Plus, the next chapter, we'll be on the red carpet with Keanu Reeves for the premiere of the latest John Wick movie. Will you join me for that and more at 6:30?
On to the Football League, where a big few days for Reading didn't get off to a good start, but we'll begin our roundup with victory for Portsmouth, where fans are enjoying what they hope will be more than a mini revival. Portsmouth's recent strong form continued at Cambridge. Colby Bishop's back post header giving John Messino a third straight League One victory. After going a goal down at Lincoln to Danny Mandro's penalty, Oxford United were unlucky not to draw level, twice having shots cleared off the line. A huge few days for Reading got off to the worst possible start with this heavy defeat at Middlesbrough. The Royals await news of a potential points deduction and host promotion-chasing Sheffield United in midweek. Swindon Town are 6 points off the League Two playoffs after holding leaders Leyton Orient to a point. Jacob Wakeling had only been on the pitch for 10 minutes when he drove the ball home. Crawley, meanwhile, have a relegation fight on their hands. Defeat at Northampton puts them 3 points off safety.
Now, a music teacher who taught the Princess of Wales and her family to play the piano has composed a song to celebrate the King's coronation.
Yes, Daniel Nichols, who lives near Kate's family home in Bucklebury in Berkshire, co-wrote Defender of Us All with his wife. Natalie Bohr reports.
At the piano where he taught a young Kate Middleton, Daniel Nichols, who's been teaching music for nearly 40 years, has now penned his own tribute to King Charles, a song he says was inspired by the monarch's desire for inclusivity and diversity.
It's like a new national anthem. It's a very heroic sort of sound, if you know what I mean. I've written it in E-flat major and C minor, so it has this really grand sound, which is what I wanted for it.
Daniel and his wife Sandra, who helped him with the lyrics, have reached out to schools across the UK, and so far they've had a positive response.
There are lots of schools and choral societies and choirs across the country who are going to sing it on Coronation Day or the day before.
Oh, it's so easy to sing. It's easy, well, especially the chorus, which comes back over and over. But the tune's, you know, one of those catchy ones.
In 2011, Daniel wrote a song to celebrate the wedding of the Prince and Princess of Wales after teaching Kate, aged 11, how to play the piano, a skill she used in 2021 for a carol concert to remember loved ones.
She was very good. She got to grade 3, she did grade 5 theory, and her sister Pippa, brother James and mother came for lesson as well.
Daniel has sent the song to the Palace and is waiting for a reply. In the meantime, he hopes we'll all learn the lyrics for the coronation. Natalie Bohr, ITV News.
Catchy, isn't it?
It is catchy.
Yeah, we've got a few months to learn it.
We have, and we will. Now, the bravest thing our next guest had done for charity up until a few weeks ago was to shave her head, which is pretty brave in itself, but she's now officially an extreme adventurer after skiing the height of Everest in sub-zero temperatures to raise money for glaucoma research.
You may remember we spoke to Southampton eye consultant Nishani Amasinghe before she started her challenge in the Swiss Alps. Before we chat to her again, this is the moment that she reached the top.
Last ski down, last descent, and then we've done it. We've done it for a lot of reasons. We're doing it for Glaucoma UK.
Well, let's talk to Nishani now. I haven't seen that clip before. I was expecting a little bit more elation, but you could just see how exhausted you were.
At that point, I was really exhausted. It was at the bottom of the last descent before the finish line, and we were all digging really deep to complete that. You know, we were so exhausted. It was digging deep to get across that finishing line.
So how deep? I mean, explain it to us. So what time would you get up in the morning? Would you sleep?
Oh, so it was different. So we'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be ready, all kitted up to go at 6 o'clock in the morning. We were sleeping in a log cabin at 3,000 metres, so we were sleeping at altitude, which is actually quite difficult. I hadn't realised that does actually affect your body physiology, and so we weren't sleeping very well. And it was four days that were at least 12, 13 hours. One day we did about 15, 16 hours, just pure slog and getting on with the job, which was getting the meterage and skiing up the mountains.
Might be a stupid question, I'm going to ask it anyway. Skiing uphill, how does that work?
So basically we use these special skis with special bindings that allow us to bring our boot out a little bit from the ski and push it up the hill. The skis themselves have something called skins, which are put on the bottom part of the ski, which gives us the grip so that we can go up without falling back.
Well done. And you've raised £18,000 for Glaucoma UK. You
Yes.
are an eye consultant yourself. Tell us, why should we be aware of glaucoma?
So glaucoma is a disease that affects the optic nerves. That's the nerve from the eye to the brain that makes you able to see. Because it kills off the nerves, we have no cure for glaucoma. So we need to pick it up early, and we do that by people going to their opticians and being detected and screened for glaucoma. Because glaucoma creeps up on patients that have it. You don't, in the early stages, realise that you have this disease. It used to be classically called the silent thief of sight. It slowly takes away your vision. And once it becomes quite advanced, when the patient realises they've got it, it's too late for us. And it's heartbreaking to see patients who've got preventable blindness. We need people to go out there and go to their opticians and have their eye tests done so that we can let people live well with glaucoma.
Well, it's brilliant to get that message across. You've done an incredible thing. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us all about it.
Absolute pleasure.
Well, we might have some snow heading our way. I'm not quite sure about the sub-zero temperatures. Let's get your full weather forecast now. With the details tonight, here's James Wright.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Out of there, good evening. A bit of a chilly start to the week. It's going to get colder still through tomorrow. Got this cold flow of air in from the north and a little front that's going to turn increasingly wintry. And as this cold air sticks with us for a little bit, anything that comes up from the south and the west in the form of wet weather could hit that cold air and give us a bit more in the way of wintriness as we head through the week. Now, the first bundle of potential for snow and ice is going to be overnight tonight. We've got this weak cold front with us. As you get that cold air tucking in underneath, there's that increasing risk of snow. Yellow warning in force across the northern side of the patch. Temperatures down to freezing, and some of that snow could actually settle up on higher ground, something a little bit sleetier and slushier on lower levels. So tomorrow, this front kind of lingers with us through the day. It sinks a little bit further south. Again, the risk of seeing a wintry mix through the day. And temperature-wise, because of that northerly flow of air, it's going to feel a little bit on the biting side. 3 or 4 Celsius, the low, several degrees down from where we'd expect at this time of year. And, well, like I say, a wintry mix where you hold on to the dampness. Now, as far as Wednesday goes, still got this cold air trapped with us. So again, around 4 or 5 Celsius, still a bit of a wind chill in there. So it's going to feel close to freezing. But then we've got these fronts here. We think this front is going to slide across southern parts of the UK. Again, depending upon timing, we could see a bit of snow out of that. As we move to Thursday, this is the afternoon. We will see temperatures back into double figures, but we will see some cold, damp weather early on in the day. Again, a risk of the white stuff.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
I mean, I started writing down some key words. I got as far as wintry, wet, sleety, slushy and wintry again, and I gave up.
You said white stuff at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Not
that's
good,
what
is it?
we've all got to look forward to.
Lovely.
In just a moment here, it's the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale. Matt will have your late update just after 10:30.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.